If and else constitute a significant part of the code we write every day as a developer. And to make our code cleaner and maintainable, we should also make this if and else maintainable and pretty. Assalamu alaikum, hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll see 7 ways on how to make your if and else concise, pretty, and more importantly, maintainable. So let's get started. Here I'm having an empty Android Studio project. It doesn't matter Android Studio or IntelliJ. We will show the concepts in Kotlin, but you can still apply them in Java, in JavaScript, or any other languages. So let's get started. So the first option we have here is to convert branches to functions. Let's say you have if and else. In the if you have some code, in the else you have also some another code. And what you can do here is to make this code cleaner and more maintainable is to extract these branches into separate functions. All right, you can do that like the following: go to refactor, extract, and function, and you can name it. You have to name it with a correct name and a meaningful name. Let's call it process A or process even. Okay, and here you have something interesting, and then you can do the same thing here. I will do it with the shortcut. Okay, extract it to this class or this file and call it. You have to name it just a good name. Okay, process opt. All right, and what you can do here, you can delete this brackets, and the code here is more maintainable and more cleaner and readable. So the next time when you try to read this code or modifying it, you will go exactly to the function you want to modify. You won't spend your time on analyzing every line of code. Okay, so you go to process even, you go directly view and start making your changes. So this is the first option, which is to convert branches of if and else into separate functions with meaningful names. Let's jump straight to the option number 2. Option number 2, which is similar somehow to option number 1, which is to extract the condition into also separate functions. Okay, so let's say here that we did that first refactoring and we want to extract this one. Okay, this condition is somehow, it will take time to read it. Okay, especially if you add other Boolean condition. Let's say you have another AND with input, I don't know, just say for example, let's say the length does not equal to 15, for example, just some random condition. This condition is somehow hard to read. Okay, so to make our code more cleaner, well, I will just delete that for the sake of demonstration, and I will extract this condition into a separate function with a good name. Okay, so let's do extract function, and let's call it if is, let's say, the input or the length even, for example. This read very well. If the input is even, then process the even case, otherwise process the odd case. This code somehow reads well. If input is even, then do something, process even case, otherwise do this thing. This please your eyes and you'll be happy to maintain it and refactor it. So option number 2, convert conditions into functions. You can do that in the if and else and also even in a while condition, for example. So let's go to option number 3. So with option number 3, let's say we have a function or code that uses if on single variable here. For example, let's say I have this function called get currency based on a country. All right, and you have this country. You will check if country equal to Algeria, you return dinar, for example. Japan yen, it is country United Kingdom pound, USA, and so on. And for the else case, you return nothing or you return null. Okay, it doesn't matter. What we have here is a problem of duplication. As you can see, we have a lot of if and else, if else, if and else. The problem with this code, mainly, if you add a new currency, you will have to go here into the code and also introduce another if and another else. What we can do here is something better, of course. So the first thing, well, we can extract this currency into a separate class. For example, we can extract it something like currency class. And here, instead of doing a bunch of if and else, we can create a map. Create a map between the different countries and the different currencies, right? So we can create a map like that. Let's, for example, show it. Currency map, it is a map of string and string, okay? Then what we can do is in the constructor block or in the init block, let's create an init block. Here in the init block, we can introduce the different key and values. Okay, so for example, we have Algeria equal to dinars, Japan yen, United Kingdom pound, and everything. Then we will have to create another method. Okay, let's call it get currency. Okay, here is the method of get currency. It will accept a country, but instead of doing this if and else's, we can do something better with the map. Okay, we can return the currency map, not the country directly. Okay, with the value, with the key of that country. Okay, so if we pass country Algeria, it will get the value of dirham. Okay, and here sometimes the map can return null. So in the case of null, we can return an empty string. Okay, this is much better. Well, if we add another currency, we will still have that problem of updating this code, but we will only update this map. We won't update the method. Okay, so the map, we will introduce the map, another key values into the map, and even we can do this externally. You can imagine this map, something in the database or something, you can get it from a server. You won't change this code anymore. Okay, it will work correctly unless this case, for example. Okay, so this is how you can change your if and else. This is chaining if and else on only one variable. If you can see that pattern, you can change it into currency, or not currency, into a map. Okay, you can map string and string or anything you have, depending on what you are returning and what you are testing in the if and else. Okay, so this is a simple refactoring with option 3. Let's move to option number 4. With option number 4, we can do something interesting. Well, in this option, you have to have some kind of lambda in your language. In Kotlin, we have it. So let's say we have to do some operation or some code blocks depending on some condition. Okay, and you know that operation beforehand. So let's say if the operation is clean, we will do a process. You can imagine here a lot of lines. It doesn't mean just that. Same thing here and same thing here. What you can do is something very interesting. We can do exactly the same thing with the map, with the previous example, but with the string and lambda, because here we have our operation name as string. Okay, so we'll have to create another method. For example, here, the same thing, same method, refactor it. And we will start by creating a map. Okay, let's create a map. And this map will be a mutable map of, well, first, the first thing, it doesn't matter. It can be a string, it can be int, it doesn't matter. But the second thing is a lambda. Okay, you can declare it like that. This is the type of the lambda here. And then what you can do is the following. You can create a line of operation clean, this operation clean, and here you will give it a code block. Okay, you can just paste a code block here in this sentence or in this comment, in the place of this comment. You can do the same thing for this one, the same thing for this one, and you are ready to go. What you have to do next is just to call this operation. It's called this operation, and you will just invoke it. Okay, well, this, you can use this here, you can declare it here or in high level class or high level constructor, and you will get the benefit of the map. So the next time when you add an extra code, you will just have to add it into the map. Okay, you don't have to change anything here. So this is a lot more maintainable, but you don't have this option. I don't know, in almost every language. In Kotlin, you can do it like that with the lambda. That's option number 4. Now with option number 5, sometimes you have just an if and else, all right? And you can do the if here, and if you do this thing, otherwise you'll have to do this. Okay, sometimes, especially in the case of a function, you can do the following. You can completely delete this else block, delete it like that, and do the operation you are just doing after the if. And if the if succeed, you won't continue. How you can do that? Simply, you would return. Okay, this option will completely let you delete the else block. Well, not completely the else block, you will still have the same behavior, but you will delete the else keyword or somehow. Okay, while preserving the same behavior. So if the condition goes good, we will simply return. Otherwise, we will completely do it like that. Okay, this is a great refactoring to know. Option number 6 on how to deal with value assignment. Let's say you have a function or code block, and you will decide to assign this result based on some condition. Okay, if condition is 0, you will assign it some value. If condition is 1, some value. Otherwise, you will have this value. And of course, at the end, you will result. Okay, so this default value, this is for 1 and this is for 0. Okay, you can do exactly the same thing while eliminating the else. All right, so well, first we have to create another function just to show it. What you can do is first you will try to test the condition directly. Okay, if the condition, let's say if the condition is 0, you will immediately return operation 0. Okay, if the condition is 1, you will immediately return option 1. Okay, and if none of this works, you will simply return the default operation. This is much cleaner than the first one. Okay, so you can imagine something like that in multiple scenarios, especially in Android or any other language or framework. So this is how you can make the value assignment with your if and else much cleaner. Okay, you can follow this method on testing and returning directly, and you will have much cleaner functions and code. This is option 6. Now with option number 7 on how to handle duplication at the end of the else's. Okay, so I found this solution on Stack Overflow. I will show 2 different solutions to this problem. So let's say you have, I'm just using the example from Stack Overflow. Let's say you have the option of dealing with some file. If the file exists, okay, you will open that file. If the content of that file are valid, you will do something with the content. Otherwise, you will do a default action. But if the file does not exist from the first place, you will have also to do that default action. Okay, so how you can handle this case? Well, we have some simple option we can do here, but you need this code to be in a separate function that returns nothing because we want to use the return thing. What we can do right now is simply move this outside like that, and we will delete completely the else block. Okay, then we will delete this else block also. And we will need to add a return statement here. So this will do very good on the result. Okay, so let's analyze it one more time. If the file does not exist, it will jump straight to default action. That's the optimal behavior. If it exists, it will go here. Then it will check if the content is valid. If it's not valid, well, it will go directly to default action. That's the optimal behavior. If it's valid, it will do this one. Then it will return. We need that return statement to stop the flow. Okay, so this return is the key. So sometimes you can't do that return because you are in the middle of some other function that returns something. For example, you have to extract this one into a separate code. Okay, that's the first option. The second option, which I saw in Stack Overflow, because sometimes the code gets messy. Okay, what we can do also is to separate 2 things happening at the same time. We have here 2 things happening at the same time: the processing of the file and the reading of the file. Okay, what we can do right now is to create another function, is to separate the getting of things. Basically, we are doing if just to get the file or to get the content. So we do create our get content function. Okay, we'll have a function called get content, and we will use something related to the null. Okay, so you will have to first check if the file does not exist. Why we want that? Because if the file does not exist, we will do a default action. Okay, then if we proceed like that, we will add open the file, previously open the file, and then we will check if the content is not valid. So we are basically negating the previous conditions and using this null as an information to trigger that default action. Then if everything is good, we will return the content. At this point, the contents are not null. Okay, then we will create, let's just rename this function or create another refactored function. Let's call it option 7 refactored. What we will do is we will get the content, okay, using this function. Right, then we will check if the content is not null. If it is not null, we will simply do this with the content, do something with the content, the same behavior. Otherwise, if it is null, we will simply do the default action. This is much cleaner. Okay, well, you have 2 options to choose from. This somehow is more scalable. Okay, I will show you another example showed also in the Stack Overflow answer. Now we have a worse version of this option 7. Sometimes we want to do many checks. We will check first if the file exists. Otherwise, we will do directly the default action. Then we will see if the file is less than 2 gigabytes. Okay, then we will do, otherwise we will do the default action. If it is good, we will check if the file is on network disk. Okay, if it is not, we will do that default action. Then finally, we will try to open the file and then check if the content is valid. As you can see, the duplication goes along here. Okay, you can use that first option I showed you before of the return, but the code I showed you here, is more scalable because we will get more conditions and requirements to add this network thing, to add cache thing, to add I don't know, many conditions. So we have to make our if and else scalable. Okay, so what you can do here is just to add these conditions here. Okay, let me show you that. So what you can do right now, basically to add this constraint or new requirement, simply you will add another if and else. Okay, you will add another if to check if the code is not less than 2 gigabytes. Okay, so we are negating our condition. Otherwise, we will return null. Simply, we'll add the same thing. If the file is not on the network disk, then we will return null. Then our code here won't get changed. Okay, so somehow we decoupled this condition checking based on the getting of the content than the dealing with this content. Okay, so this is simply how you can check and work with if and else in case of duplication like that. Here is the original question and answer on Software Engineering Stack Exchange. This is a great website to start learning new things from great software engineers. Okay, so here is the answer as I showed you earlier, and here is the first answer to use the return statement. Okay, the return is very powerful here. Or you can do the other option of check. So we are separating getting the content from processing it. As you can see here, here is the other option I showed you of the network disk and less than 2 gigabytes and how you can deal with it. All right, so this is option 7, how you handle duplication at the end of the else blocks. So this is it for this video. Using these tips and tricks on how to write better if and else will make your code cleaner and more maintainable. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are not, and see you in the next video. Happy coding day and salam alaikum.